Hello there. I am so glad you're here tonight because I'm Kat Hobson. I'm your host, and you are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And I am so pleased that we are having this show tonight. I thought that the third group of UFO files had dropped. They have not. It's supposed to be out next week. But what I did was go back because there were some that I did not use from the first batch. And as I started going back through them, I was like, oh, well, this is quite interesting. Wow, I didn't remember this. So I thought that I would share those. I most of y'all know that I am a paranormal investigator, and I've done that for eons. But I'm also very vested in the UFO UAP community. I enjoy doing my own research. I enjoy following other people. I've been on Coast to Coast Radio. I just love everything about getting a chance to talk about this topic. And I think that it's really a gift to be living in these times because this was not on my bingo card, right? I did not have, we're going to talk UFOs in public with the government, sharing their videos, talking about these things. And I did not anticipate this happening. And it's really funny because Steve Bassett and I are we're kind of friends, really. And he is the man behind the Paradigm Research Group. And he has been fighting for disclosure for years. And when I met him at Contact in the Desert a few years ago, we kind of hit it off. And he's been on twice. And the first time he was in DC, and he did it from a coffee shop, and it was all kinds of bits and pieces that looked like, really interesting art. And then the second time we did it was in Eureka Springs this year. He may have known this was coming. I did not. And it was interesting to me because, again, weird candle camera angles because we're sitting beside each other and we're kind of talking into the camera and we're kind of talking to each other. And one of these days we're going to do a really good video portion of our show. But man, when PRG starts getting into this stuff, it's pretty serious. And I know that when this was starting to come out, he was all over it and he was fired up for it. And this is a new earpiece that I'm using to listen. So I've got a new microphone. But I'm really just so beyond excited to be living in this period because so many times people have really rallied and literally fought to get this stuff out. People have been hushed. People have been kind of maybe disappeared. People have been destroyed in their careers. They have been, and that's not even talking about experiencers, right? Because experiencers, look at what Travis Walton went through. He is an experiencer. And I outside of his book, I've talked to him, I've listened to him lecture, I have seen him as he was describing his experiences. This stuff happens to people. And they couldn't get the general public to take them seriously. The man was gone for a week, right? I mean, and showed up naked in a phone booth. And people doubted him. Well, probably they wondered where his clothes were. But he had a bad time of it. And people pretty much ridiculed him. He wrote a book, Dog Since Been Coming Home. He's in trouble. Not for coming home. Not for coming home. He's in trouble for knocking the door open. But oh, I'm frozen. There we go. But it's really just I think they believe him now, right? And there have been so many historical experiencers, and not all of them are known because not all of them come forward. It's a very taboo topic, or has been. And, you know, just UAP period, UFOs. And I'm sorry. I am one of those people that is firmly on the side of thought that they changed it from UFO to UAP, change the nomenclature, make it harder to research. Okay. If you don't look under the right topic, you don't find the topic. And having worked as a research librarian in my university's library, I know how hard it is to find stuff if it's not labeled right. And it just struck me as so really odd. I saw an interview that Hillary Clinton did, where she was like, oh, nobody calls it UFO anymore. All the cool people say, UAP. And I thought, isn't that handy? So it's just one of those things, I guess, but it doesn't make it right. I think that there's a possibility that some of the old stuff disappears. And that's, you know, and then came Trump with a let's show him everything. Let's get this out. And I will say that every so often, apparently, you need a disruptor, because isn't he one? I mean, seriously, he is not a politician, and he doesn't kiss ass, and he's kind of rude and sometimes obnoxious. But he got this information out, and he's done a lot of other things that are good for this country too. But he has done so, it's just bizarre. The UFO information, UAP, oh yeah, get everything out. Just put it out there. Let's all share it and learn from it. So I do not know why I am glitching, but I am. Full signal, everything's charged. There you go. But maybe it's the topic. And Carl will tell you that sometimes this topic and some other ones will get you messed up. So we're going to try to do this right. And if you're watching me and I'm just sitting still, smiling, that's okay. I'll just do that. But I'm still going to talk. I think that one of the best parts that I have seen with the UAPs is, there's a lot of the little lights in the sky, just little, dots zipping around like gnats. And I don't doubt them, because we don't have anything that moves like that. And I've noticed that there's not a lot of color involved. So that's something, because I've seen different colors. And of course, all of this is, cameras from fighter jets. So it's going to probably be green or black and white. And I'm just really interested when they get a full color camera to do something with that. It's going to be fun. And I think that I just love this stuff. I just love this. I'm really interested to see what's going to come in this third group, because I don't know how they're breaking them down. I don't think they're going with the highest classified to start with, because there's no aliens. I don't think that they're doing the highest classified because there's not stuff. I just lost my screen. That's okay. Carl, you're going to be in charge of doing stuff. I'm back. Okay. I'm gonna, Carl. Carl,
Yes.
I'm gonna duck out just for a second and be right back.
Okay. Do that. Take your
You,
time. I'm gonna play a song.
okay, thank you. I'll be right back.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Whoa, whoa. Oh. Turn the dial slow. Something's calling in the dark. Late night stories glow like a match inside the spark. Host cat hops and speaks with a steady knowing tone. Facts and mystery from the unknown to the known. If you want the truth, if you want the strange, stay right where you are. Let the whole room change. Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central. Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central. Fate Magazine Radio takes you where the questions go. Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central. Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central. Stories and facts all night long. Fate Magazine Radio. UFO lights overhead and shadows with a name. Old reports and fresh new leads, a fire you can't explain. On www.fatemac.com, the signal's clear and strong. Every Sunday night, you know where you belong. If you want the truth, if you want the strange, stay right where you are. Let the whole room change. Sunday nights, 7.
Hello there. There I am. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. Carl will tell you that oftentimes when we discuss topics that are controversial or taboo, even, that we get glitches. And I've had that happen on other UFO shows, UAP shows, and I'm okay with that. It's just weird. But anyway, I brought back some of this really interesting stuff I found. And some of it's trippy. Some of it's just kind of, blase. It's stuff that they had in files they just put out and nothing really glamorous or sexy about it. But I'm waiting on the beings. So we'll get them eventually. Now, some of these you've probably seen. And I did not play the one about the kind of snowflake looking Christmas ornament looking UAP because everybody had seen it. Everybody has, and all of it. But I'm going to tell you that the more I've looked at it, the more interesting I find it because I don't see how it doesn't have the aerodynamics and appearance to make it be able to fly. But man, it just bounces all around the place in its video. So I'm going to go over here and see where I put it. Because periodically I lose stuff. And Carl saves me from myself. This may be a challenge, Carl. All right, it's going to be in the 116, 11/16s, and I should have named it by what it is. I did not do that. Hindsight is indeed 2020. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to go through these because I'm fascinated. I think they're beautiful. I think that what I see periodically just blows my mind. And
Which
we're
one
going to
you
play again the one that looks like a Christmas tree ornament. It's in the it's really pretty. It looks like something you would find in a church too. Oh, I can enlarge that.
I don't see it. You put it underneath the video clips, right?
I did because it's a video.
It looks like a Christmas tree ornament.
It looks like a star.
Oh,
It's round in the
I know.
center.
I know which one you're talking about. I hope it's this one. No, it ain't that one. It's got to be. I believe it's this one. Let me see. I'm gonna pull it
We'll
up.
see. Mm-mm.
Okay, it's not that one. Oh, it's the one where. Yeah, I know. I know which one you're.
It's the one I didn't play when we did this the first time because I thought it had been seen too much. But the more I look at it, the prettier I think it is. And I think that beings that would design something like this,
No, it's not that one.
well, we'll just go through
Here,
them and when we come to it.
no, here it is. Here it is.
Yes. And as it comes closer, look at the aesthetics of this because this is almost poetry in motion to me. It's a sun, a star. It's just absolutely beautiful. And it's also leaving a trail. So when I looked at this the first time, I thought, oh, that's all anybody's ever going to be looking at. And I haven't really seen it very much since the first days. But whatever created this has a sense of the aesthetic. It's not just the light that's zipping around the sky, right? The body of this is creativity and artistry, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know if you saw that just moved away to the left side of your screen, but we're going to run this again so that you can see it. But it's interesting. And there it is again to the left of the screen. I don't know what that is, that dark shadow in motion. But it's moving not just in one direction, it's coming and going. So just something I thought was interesting as well. But I just think it's bizarre that this was so pretty and so active, and it wasn't afraid to be in those crosshairs, right? It was in the target. They could have locked in and taken it down if they were feeling froggy that day. And they're not afraid. There's several of these videos where they get a lock on them and they just move. They just zip to the side. And so, you know, there's a lot that we are not going to be able to do. And it's just going to be interesting. Oh, and thank you, Solar Prep, for telling people about Fate. That's neat. Hey, Tom McNicholas and Melinda. It's good to see y'all. And, you know, I'm just really so, people are approaching this. There's a lot of people that are very fearful because we've been told there weren't any, right? Our government has, since 1947, told you if you were talking about these, you were a freaking nut. They don't exist. There's no way that these aerodynamics would work. There's no way that any kind of being could, you know, move through space in a timely fashion to be able to do any of these things. That, you know, our science was the science. That we knew they couldn't do it because we can't do it. How arrogant. I mean, I understand that the military and the government were trying to I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and not say that they were so afraid of what we would do. Thanks to Orson Welles, right? What we would do if we didn't, you know, continue to think that this was bogus and the people talking about it were freaks. That's basically what they wanted and what they got. And when I started to be around experiencers, people who had been one-on-one, as it were, I started noting that they weren't crazy. They were concerned. They had actually been through something. And they were being ridiculed because our government was afraid to tell us that they didn't know what this was and, you know, to get help. Because there'd been a lot more people working to study this coming through the system had people, you know, had the government been honest. As it was, the government picked and chose who they wanted to do this research. And then when you had people come along like Kathy Martin and Stanton Friedman, who wrote numerous books on the topic, who were geniuses, who, you know, Kathy was, you know, the niece of Barney and Betty Hill, who were some of the earliest abductees that came forward. And you know, Bob Hopkins regressed them and they shared their experience in full and they were terrorized. It was not a good experience. It was a horrific experience that they could not get out without being hypnotized. And by calling the kettle black, yes, indeed. So, you know, it's just really, they had people that have been through really bad things and they ridiculed them. And, you know, that's your government for you. It's one of the things that I think, you know, this was way back when, and it's one of the reasons that people have such distrust for their government. Besides the fact that all our money goes to spend $200,000 for a couple of pens. That's not a big deal either, right? But this is real. They couldn't hide it anymore. There are too many people seeing this. There are too many people having interactions who are credible people. Stanton Friedman, who was doing this research, was a nuclear physicist. He worked on developing the bombs, testing in the desert, and was the first civilian UFO researcher of Roswell. And he was thebomb.com, and he was my friend. And, you know, when you start finding out the things that really happened, the things that people were ridiculed for and lost families or jobs, or, you know, if your spouse or significant other is gone for a week and comes home saying that they have been abducted by aliens, really? Yeah. I mean, because obviously there's no aliens, because obviously our government said so. And I just think it's so sad. I do think it's so sad. But now, all bets are off. You know, and to just an example of how people, even people that do these things, right? The Hubster and I were in Sedona, Arizona. We were just having a good old time. We had been, you know, we rode the Grand Canyon train and got robbed and all this stuff, having a good day. So we went on over to Sedona to spend a night or two. And we did a night sky tour. It was a full moon. But in the afternoon before the sun went down, everybody that's doing the tour is just standing there and getting ready and talking and enjoying a great afternoon. And I saw something move, and it just shot up from the horizon and came over us. And I was like, what is that? And the guy leading the tour, they're college students, guy leading the tour was like, there's nothing. What are you talking about? And I said, well, it's right there, and it's just doing a little shimmy, and, you know, it's right there. And he was like, well, there's nothing there. And the guy behind me said, yeah, I watched that come up from the horizon too. She's not wrong. So even the tour guides in Sedona will make you think that you're an idiot. Sometimes I am an idiot, right? Wasn't then. But it was so funny, because it was just like, well, you know, this is not going to go well. And it's just crazy. And no, Melinda, you're pretty much on spot. You can go on if you want to, but the list will get long. She said, government equals corruption, lies, subterfuge, arrogance, greed. Shall I go on? You could. But in this instance, you know, I just think that if we didn't have somebody that just didn't give a care in office, how much longer would this have gone on? They're getting very bold in their presentation to us. They are, you know, when I figured that the whole reason for going from UFO to UAP was simply to hide records. I really did. I said that, right? And if you can't find it, you can't research it. And the original experiencers are aging out. Hopefully, most of the ones I know are not going to be going anywhere in the next 20 years or so. But it's really true that the original experiencers are older, and the ones that we know about. The ones we know about. And, you know, it's just really cool. You want to see some more of them? Oh, glowing white object coming out of the ground in Sedona. That's interesting. But it wouldn't surprise me. Those vortexes have a lot of energy. It would probably be a draw. So even my husband, who does not do woo at all, when we were in the Cathedral of the Cross, we were just experiencing it, sitting in a pew, and, you know, we're Protestant. We are not. He's not overly publicly religious. Very personal relationship. And so he looked at me and he was like, "You need to go light some candles." And I'm like, "We're not Catholic." And he said, "Well, you need to light candles for the kids. Each kid, light them a candle." I was like, "Really?" And he meant it. And when we were talking about it later, it's because that's a vortex. The Cathedral of the Cross sits on a vortex, and you can feel that. Yes, the energy there is so strong, right? It just is amazing. And I had a chakra alignment, my first and only one. You need to have those done often. I need to find someone here. But, and it was done on a vortex. And the energy is just amazing. But even my husband was moved there. And that was very cool for me because he will help me triangulate things when I'm doing investigations or looking for things. But for him to do that, I mean, he's a machinist, he's an engineer mind. That's what he does. He works with metal and he's really good at that. But it takes a mindset that doesn't really lend itself to woo very often. And he did to do that. So anyway, all that to say that when you are when you're having experiences and you're told, "Oh, there's no way. That could not possibly be a thing." And you know it is. Well, now that's what's happening is that all the people, all the people have been abducted, all the people who have seen crap, I've seen them all my life, all the people who have lost people. You know, I mean, it's really wild. It's almost like in the come on. The Richard Dreyfuss movie, when the astronauts are coming back, when the aliens, when they're trading out personnel, right? Because our people had been with them and their people had been here researching and we just traded out. They came back. And, you know, everybody, I mean, they're going in for a debrief. And I'm just like, is because that was the most bizarre movie. If you really read and research ufology, Spielberg has friends, but and to put Jacques Vallée in it, I thought that was the nicest thing. Dedicated his life to that, and they put him in the film. So, oh, I will. But anyway, I think that I'm going to look at some more of these. Do you want to? Yeah. Okay. And Carl, we're just going to go through them. If you want to just go to the beginning, because these are the ones that I didn't have on our show before. And when they release this third group, I'm going to go and look at them. And if I see some that are just like, "Oh, we've got to share this," then we're going to do another show because this is a big deal. And specs. Sorry, Carl. Okay. I love this because to me it looks like they're focusing on the little thing. And there's a lot of little things through these videos, like the little round lights and stuff. And while they're focused on something else, you get a fast mover and a pretty freaking big fast mover. See? That's not one of the little bitty craft. How cool is that? And it's not a bird. Didn't have wings, wasn't a jet. So I think that it's just the most bizarre thing. And this, I love this. They're not getting there. It's quintessent. It just changes direction. It comes back and then goes. And I mean, seriously, I think that is the coolest because we can't do that. And he's gone. I mean, it's just the most bizarre thing. And I don't know why their instrumentation makes the black boxes like that. No idea how that works. But and if I did ask them, they wouldn't tell me. But will you play that one more time? Look at the top of the screen in this video. There's a blast of some type. And they thought that that was something because they included it in the UAP files. So what made that blast? I mean, we don't even know the technology that's being utilized to make this work. We have no idea. And, you know, they do look like missiles, but it's not because there is no exhaust. There is no, I mean, it's not cylindrical. Can we play that one again with the fast mover? It's not cylindrical. And I don't even know how fast that's going, but pretty darn. I think that's so cool. And, you know, it's just one of those things. When I was going through these, I've been looking through these for a couple of weeks and I've been sharing them, you know, here and there. But this, to me, it was something we don't have, we don't know about. Because it didn't look like they were focused on that. It looked like they were trying to follow one of those little orbs again. And then there's that. They didn't even turn the camera, or they didn't share where they turned the camera to try to find it. Cool stuff. Okay. And
Gemini Control here again. Earlier in the flight, you'll recall at the start of the second revolution, we had a reference to several objects that the crew spotted. This was in the area of Antigua. Due to a mechanical breakdown, we did not have that portion of the tape available for you. This was a line breakdown between Building 30 and our news center in Building 6. Since then, we have dubbed the tape off the master tape here in the control center, and we are now prepared to play it for you. It contains references to sighting not only some particles, but as well as an unidentified object, plus the booster. Here's that tape. We'll play it for you now.
Gemini 7 here, Houston 98.
Loud and clear. 7, go ahead.
Bogey at 10 o'clock high.
This is Houston. Say again, 7.
So we have a bogey at 10 o'clock high.
Roger. Gemini 7, is that the booster or is that an actual sighting?
What?
Say again, 7.
Okay, we have several, looks like the 3 up there, actual sighting.
You have any more information, estimated distance or size?
But we also have the booster in sight.
Understand you also have the booster in sight, Roger.
And we have very, very many, looks like hundreds of little particles going by to the left out about 3 to 4 miles.
Understand you have many small particles going by on the left. At what distance?
4 miles. Large, looks like perhaps a vehicle that's disintegrated.
Roger, understand they're about 3 to 4 miles away.
They're past now, they're going to polar orbit.
Roger, and understand they were about 3 to 4 miles away.
Appears fine. No further.
Roger. Gemini 7, Houston, were these particles in addition to the booster and the bogey at 10 o'clock high? Roger.
7, this is, Houston, this is 7.
Go ahead.
I have the booster on my side as a brilliant body in the sun against a black background and with billions of particles around it.
Roger, what direction is it from you?
It's about at my 2 o'clock position.
Does that mean it's ahead of you?
It's affirmative. Ahead of us, 2 o'clock, slowly tumbling.
Roger.
OS 91. Fox 91. Fox 191, say again.
Gemini Control here again. The reference in that conversation to the third unidentified object, of course, the third object was bogey. There were several references to the bogey. This is the unidentified object in addition to particles which appeared to be headed in a polar orbit, you heard Frank Borman say, plus Jim Lovell discussing the booster. It was Borman who reported sighting the bogey. This is Gemini Control Houston at 4 hours, 24 minutes into the flight.
Seriously, I had listened to the short clip, right? I missed this one. So when I wanted to do another show with this UAP evidence, I thought, well, let's just go back through this. Maybe there's something else that I missed. And there wasn't that I missed it. I did miss this. But the other stuff, I just ran out of time. My show was full. But this one is bizarre because they cut that. Okay. That was not in the first clip that I shared when I did the first show about this. And this one, full clip, is like pretty long. And I was shocked when I started listening to this because there was no, I mean, the guy was not having it put off. And they talked about that that file was over somewhere else. And so then all of a sudden, well, we have all these other particles that were interested in the booster that had been discharged the particles were around our booster. And were they trying to figure out how we had gotten off the planet? I mean, that's the Gemini program. That's old. And they were already having these experiences. So it just makes sense that if people were already trying to hide stuff back then no wonder they weren't interested in helping the people that were being abducted other than to hear their experiences, learn their experiences, and then ridicule them. And, there was a wonderful lady that I met when I went out to Phoenix for the Congress, UFO Congress. And her name was Charlotte Mann. And she was fairly older, and her dad was a minister. And where she lived, back in like 40, 50 years ago, but her dad was a minister, and there was a UFO crash, and the police came and got her dad because the beings in this crash were not going to live. And she went with her dad, if I'm not mistaken. But I know that she saw them. And so this was forever ago. And, Roswell was 47. That was before Roswell. And you just don't realize how long Americans have been having interaction and how extreme some of the interactions have been. It's fascinating to know that people who were credible witnesses, who were, religious people, even military people, leaders of society, were ridiculed or just blown off when they had real experiences that they were wanting to share. They wanted to talk about it because this was not a normal occurrence. And I'm sure some people probably thought they were losing their marbles, their minds. And the government just let them think that. And they would still be letting you think that if these files weren't coming out. It's just crazy. And I am going to unplug my computer, Carl. I've got a full charge. If it starts to get lower, I will plug it back up. But it's lightning and thundering and loud. But it's just crazy. It's crazy what these people have been put through. And a lot of the first experiencers are not here anymore. So the government can't compensate them for, ruining their reputation, perhaps costing them their livelihood, their whatever. And that's wrong. From the beginning of this experience, all of that is wrong. And I still want to know where all the money goes for all the military equipment that there's no record for. You don't really think a hammer costs $17,000, right? I mean, seriously, I want to know, where are they? Where are the bases? I've been to Area 51. There's not anything you can go and look at. They have a whole little gig there. And mainly I just went because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that little restaurant. It's kitschy, but it's different. And, I was really surprised that there was just a vibrant farming community out there in the desert. There's an area with really good water right by there. But I think of what they put Bob Lazar through for years, still today. That man has been through hell and back as far as reputationally. And, if George Knapp was not the kind of man that he is, with a whole lot of ego that helps him stand tall, he would have had problems too. And he supported Bob Lazar since he came out. I sit there and I look at, I mentioned Travis Walton, Whitley Strieber, people that have come forward. They have a niche community, but they were not really accepted mainstream. And those are just the big names. I mean, there's so many people in this world who have gone through this. Nancy Tremaine, who went through this with a relationship with her abductors, she had a terrible time. And she finally wrote a book about it. And she was devastated just through writing the book. Not because her abductors were bad, but because the humans in her area were less than respectful. And it was so hard. And then people that learned of her story were so hard on her. And, she was, it was tough. There's a reason that abductees tend to not come out. They'll talk about it with their friends or their family, if their family is accepting of that, or they'll just hide. Just hide. And, I was walking through a conference and I was walking with Linda Moulton Howe, and this strikingly beautiful young woman who was wheelchair bound was walking through with her mom, and Linda just stopped and looked at her and then looked at the mom and kind of cocked a brow. And the woman was like, yeah. And she was a hybrid. And you never know what you're going to learn when you're walking through a UFO conference, really. But, it's just the most interesting thing. And I don't know, I mean, I have seen things that I did not know existed, like a beautiful young hybrid woman. And there was no doubt. It was not just the hair. It wasn't just the eyes. It was the skin. It was everything about her. Just, screamed otherworldly. And I don't know. I've talked to 2 different women who have had experiences that made them judged, and they felt like they couldn't come out anymore. And I unplugged the wrong thing. But anyway, it's just wild. Things that, I'm from the South. They don't talk about that much here because we're the Bible Belt, and people just think that UFOs aren't healthy or good or any of that stuff. And they might be right. But I know people have had bad experiences, but I know people that haven't. And I don't think that, coming back to these videos, they had this. They knew these people were telling the truth. They knew there was something here that they had no understanding of, no comprehension of how they could function, how they were managing the maneuverability, how they were managing the speed. It's just crazy. Carl, do you want to show another couple of videos?
I have. The more of the white particles in view below the capsule? They appear to be traveling exactly my speed. There is one drifting off. It's going faster than I am, as a matter of fact.
Roger, understand.
I haven't seen the great numbers of these particles, but I've seen a few of them. Their motion is random. They look exactly like snowflakes to me.
Roger, have you tried return?
Negative. Let me get within scanner limits first.
Say again.
I must adjust my attitude to within scanner limits first.
Roger.
There were some more of those little particles. They definitely look like snowflakes this time.
Roger, I understand your particles look like definite snowflakes.
However,
You shot?
Roger.
So now the particles were not with the booster. Now they were on their craft, researching their craft. And seriously, if I were up in space and this is happening, I'm tripping out because they don't know what it is. Looks like snowflakes. Well, that would be a neat trick, senor, right? I mean, they knew this stuff. This was an early flight. An early flight. And not only did they see a bogey, take that as you will. You didn't describe the shape, I don't think. Now they've got all these particles that were first interested in the booster, but now they're interested in them. That's a little trippy. So it's just wild. I just think this is so much fun because
And now at 1 hour.
because they went through it, they got back. I don't remember anybody talking about that. I don't. And if it were not for these releases, we still wouldn't know about it. Some people do, but these have all been classified for however long, and we paid for this. We paid for all these programs, us as a citizenry, and we've got all the stuff that happened and we didn't know. And I just find that so bizarre. I really do find that bizarre because we needed to know. How can we be an informed populace if things are being... What else is hidden? What else is hidden? Beings from outer space, maybe? And what kind of place are they in? And why are they hidden? There's a book that Jacques wrote, Trinity, with Paola, and it was about a crash pre-Roswell that two young men, two little boys, who were out horseback riding when they weren't supposed to be at night, but like doing that, saw it clip a communications pole and go down. And there were ostensibly 3 beings in it, and 2 were dead. And the other one was just running around trying to figure out what to do. And then, it's just wild. And then, the military came out to look for it because they had lost communication because the telegraph tower, telegraph pole got knocked down. And that's what brought them out. And then they took the beings and the craft and took it away. So the book is called Trinity. And it's got Jacques Vallée's name on it. It's a good book. So it's just really something to think about, that all of these times that they've had beings, and, if they had living beings, where are they? What did they do with them? Did they negotiate for trades? I mean, have a lot of people that go missing here. Or were some of them taken and not brought back? We don't know, because our government lied and hid things. And that's just so exasperating. They're elected to take care of us. They're elected to do what we want them to do. We put them in place because they say they're going to do what we want them to do. There's a lot of stuff I don't like about what keeps happening here. It's just crazy. And nobody does anything about it until now. And now we have these files. Can we look at another one, please, Carl? Not as dramatic. But still there. There's a lot of these that I was looking at, and I'm like, what the heck? Where is it? Well, I could see it better when it was with the clouds. If y'all are picking up this thunder, apologize, but I can't do anything about that. Right there. And I was told last week that you can't see where I point to, but I think that just started back. But I'm looking too. It's because, I really can't get enough of this stuff. It's, yes. Timothy Good wrote some great books about the entities, the Solar Pro said. So there's that. So Timothy Good, go find him. Well, I think that there's so much to know, and we don't even know what we don't know yet. We don't even know what they've been hiding from us, what they deemed unimportant for us to be aware of. And they just left all the people that were experiencers out to dry, which is so wrong because they knew they were telling the truth. How many of them did they let just be gone? That's something that I don't know if we'll ever get an answer for, but if we're going to get one, we better do it quick. It's something that I don't know if when they're saying release the files, if, I know they're saying to release them unredacted, but will they really? Because I think there's some culpability, some liability that our government has to the people that were taken, disappeared, whose families will never know where they went. I don't know. And that's a question that we need to get an answer to because it matters. Yeah. Humanity and the earth need help and soon. That's true. But I think somebody wrote a book that the earth was actually like a prison planet, that the people that couldn't get along were put here. I thought that was funny at the time. Now it doesn't sound so weird, right? But I think that there are people who absolutely need to I am playing with this thing and trying to make it work. But oh, yes, my new microphone that I'm trying to figure out what to do with. It works, it doesn't work. It works, it doesn't work. But it's just so bizarre that they'll joke that, the aliens lock their doors when they fly by us kind of stuff. That was could have been funny. Probably doesn't sound so funny now. But I just think the whole thing is like, let's find out. Let's reach out. Who is reaching out? Is anybody reaching out? Does anybody know, anything? And you got to know the answers right there. Then you start getting to, well, this is weird stuff. How does this work? What are we doing? And, it's like, well, we could be talking to the people that say they were gone, for so many years and came back to their present. I mean, I know 3 people that have made that claim. I don't know what I think about it. Probably I think it's interesting and I'd like to know more about it and maybe talk to them. And I have talked to them. I got to listen to them talk in California. But we haven't really had them public, right? We haven't had them out in front of God and everybody talking about, well, this happened and and it's a contract. The 23 and 23 and back program, I think. I may have the number wrong. It might be 22. But they were sharing their experience at Contact at the Desert several years ago. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so bizarre. And then, somebody was like, oh, well, they've been discredited. Well, I bet they have. So were Travis Walton and Betty and Barney and Deb. I mean, all these people were written off. All these people were fed to the wolves because they had experiences our government knew were possible. And they got thrown to the wolves. They were on their own. They were, they were talking. Some people were listening. Some people wanted to get them medical help. I mean, seriously. And, Travis was a young man who woke up, on a craft, being taken care of by what looked like bugs. And he came up fighting, trying to kill them, trying to fight his way out because he didn't know what had happened to him. But there were bugs taking care of him. And when they walked out, they came back as Nordics, trying to soothe him. And I'm going to tell you something. All these people that have these bizarre tales have a lot more credibility now. A lot more credibility now. Because we were lied to about everything else. And why wouldn't they have lied to put these people in the shade and make them irrelevant? Except to people that believed. I don't know, if they're going to, the humanity and Earth need help soon. Who knows if they're going to be helpful? We don't know that. They have caused harm to people. And, we don't know why they're here. Maybe it's just like driving by the zoo with your doors locked. And Alien Agenda is a great book. I love Jim Marrs. He was wonderful. But, it's just an absolute, it's a crapshoot, right? Because our government knows what kind of interactions have been had, but we don't know what to anticipate. We don't know what to think. I think that as some of these, as some more of these files come out, that it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really bizarre. And I'm curious as to how honest they're going to be with us. Pretty damn so far. I mean, seriously, this is stuff that I've heard about from military people over time, but it's just wild. Just wild. Let's go with some more videos. So I love this. Isn't this pretty though? It's a good thing they're silent with my thunder. It's just keeping pace. I love it when they have these. It's like they know they saw something. Carl, can people still hear me? Okay. Well, what I think is interesting is like they look for them, and then when they find when they know they have them on camera, they'll try to stay with them, like they're trying to see what they can do. And with a lot of them, they just kind of tool along together. And I don't understand. See, there we go. They're erratic. They look like lights. They just do the most unexpected things. It would be tough, I think, to be a pilot that's used to being the best in the business, and then there's something that just leaves your butt in the dirt. Because we've got the best fighter pilots that there are. I especially Navy pilots. I just think they're amazing. Air Force too. But you know, when you are a fighter jet pilot for America, I feel like you know that you're the best in the air. And then you come across something, yes, I do think that's intelligent plasma. Like when we first, in one of the other videos we saw where we first saw the flash of light at the top of the screen, I do think that there's something like that because, you know, there was a shadow moving in that video that we just saw. So to me, that's, I think that's a definite possibility, which kind of makes, you know, the Blob sound like a not quite such just a horror movie, right? But it's certainly something to consider because we don't know. We don't know how they are able to do some of the things that they do because we don't have the ability yet. And I'm pretty sure that there's stuff underground somewhere being gone through with a fine-tooth comb for the last, 80 years? Yeah, I firmly believe that. And I just think that it's such a cool thing, right? But can we play another one, Carl, please? I don't know what the black things are. I don't know why they have them. So I can't help with that. And can we play that one again? Watch the light. I mean, it just shows up. So why wouldn't it be intelligent plasma? There's so much. I mean, I'm going to tell you that anything that you can find written by Stanton Friedman is worth a read. Anything that you can find, well, you already mentioned Jim Mars, anything by Jim Mars. There's, they're behind me, but I'll put a list out on my Facebook and you can look at that because there's just so much. And I've learned from I have done Paranormal Experience for 10 years, okay, which is my Wednesday night show. And I have talked to so many people because before I started doing Fate Magazine 5 years ago, I have, Paranormal Experience was everything I was interested in. I'm a paranormal investigator. I talked to people that did that. I talked to, that's how I met Stanton Friedman, actually. I was doing Paranormal Experience. But, there's so much, right, to learn. And I just invited anybody and everybody. I love what I do. I love what I learn. I love talking to people about this. I love learning from people about this. I invited Stanton Friedman to come on with me, sent him an email, and he called me. And at the time, I answered, I had kids. I was doing cheerleading stuff, and we were all, up to our elbows in paint and glitter. And I answered on my watch. And he said, "Yes, this is Stanton Friedman, and someone called me or asked me to call this number." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to call you back. I'm on my watch. Oh my gosh. I will call you right back." And I called him and he was like, "Oh, well, what is this? Your watch kind of." I said, "I was Dick Tracying you, Stanton." I was talking to you on my watch. And so that became the thing. I was Dick Tracying you. But, I learned so much from that man. So much from that man. And when I finally got to meet him up in Arkansas at Eureka Springs UFO conference, it was the best time because, he sold out of all his stuff. He didn't have anything else to, go do. He'd already done his presentation. And we just spent time talking and learning each other. And he became such a really good, dear friend. And I had him on the Wednesday before he passed away. And he was going to a conference. And he wasn't feeling well. He just wanted to do the first hour. And I was like, sure, I'll get somebody else for the second one. And I did. And then he was like, "Well, I don't want to go." I was like, I don't know what to say. But, and then he went to a conference that weekend and passed away in the airport on his way home. And he was such a loss. It was such a loss to lose a man like that. And like I said, he was the original civilian investigator of Roswell. He wrote more books than Carter has little pills. He was so intelligent. He was a nuclear physicist and so smart. And there's so many people of his ilk in the UFO field. And it was so sad. But, but he knows the answers now. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that he knows everything he wanted to know. But there's so many so many. And I mean, there's a lot of ego involved with a lot of this, and that's okay, because every one of these men and women are used to being convinced that they are the smartest person in the room. And probably most of the time they are. And they bring so much to the table. You know, it's like looking at propulsion systems. I was at another conference in California, and Travis Taylor and some other people did a presentation on propulsion systems. And it was a really jam up presentation, to be quite honest about it. I am not a physicist. Really. Oh, that shocks you, right? But it was so interesting because through time and listening to enough lectures and studying, I've gotten a fair grasp of what they're talking about here and there. And I'm not going to fool you. Travis Taylor thinks that he's the smartest man in the room. There's a lot of rooms that he's probably right about. That is a smart guy. And he is so funny to me on his shows because he's a rocket scientist. So when they started doing nothing but rockets on Skinwalker, I was like, okay. And, you know, but it's what he does. And it's a good research tool. And even though they did so much of them, everybody was like, another rocket. Well, they were actually striving for answers. And I'm not going to take away from him for that, because that's what he knows and that's what he thought would work. So there's that. But again, the first time I saw him was in California. And I asked a question during that propulsion system lecture. And it was a little pointed, and he got mad. And we're in the same group, the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies. And at last year's meeting, he came in, and I was just like, hi, Travis. And it was like, hey. And, you know, so I don't intentionally try to be a horse's butt, but sometimes you have questions and you're just looking for an answer, right? And I don't know enough to know what's out of the way. And let's see, I'm going to read this. Okay. And always in timeout. I love that name, by the way. Said, what I appreciate most about Travis Taylor is he really has an open mind on the subject, while others are totally dismissive. Well, I'm going to tell you that this is a man that works in fields where they're going to find the answers to this. Okay. This is a person who truly is a rocket scientist, who truly is the smartest man in most rooms that he's in. And he is, he was the flavor of the week when I met him, right? Because he had just been on Ancient Aliens some, and man, but he is so smart. And when I was listening, and he explained the propulsion system he was talking about in a way I could understand, right? So there's that. And so he's good with people, and or good at getting his points across. And I really think that people like him, because he went from just science to entertainment, because those shows are not educational shows, right? Those are entertainment shows. And he brought his science knowledge into the public forum by doing Skinwalker. And that, I mean, people watch that show. they watch that show enough to give him crap about shooting off rockets all the time because they know he's shooting off rockets all the time, right? I mean, that show has a following. And that place is freaking astounding. And, you know, there was, anyway, there's a young man named Ryan Skinner that wrote books about his experiences there back in the day. And you have to find the Ryan Skinner who writes, because there's another Ryan Skinner in this field too. And it was interesting to me because I knew enough about Skinwalker Ranch from back in the day when people were locking their closets from the inside because they were locking themselves away from whatever was crossing over the dimensions to be there. And so, you know, it was really wild to me when they started the show because I had tried to get in touch with Bigelow for years because I had a questions. You know, I had read these books, 30 years ago, and I wanted to talk to someone that thought enough of this place to go get it. Why did he want to go get it? What was the draw? Did he read those books too? He's not that old, you know. And so then with the television show, it was really interesting to me to hear Travis talking about orbs. That blew my mind. I didn't expect that. But you know, it's something that I think matters. That place matters. There is something about there, and there has always been something about there. And even when they do the things that I think are just like so redundant. How many times are you going to do this? Well, that's because he's a scientist, and scientists test to the yin yang, and that's what they do. They're looking for repeatable results, and I don't think that they've found what they're looking for, but they will. I have confidence. They may not still be on the air when they do, but somebody's going to figure this out, and I can't imagine anybody much better at that than him. Just saying. And no, he's not my friend. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm just saying that, you know, he's an interesting person and smart. He's smart enough to do that. But enough about Travis Taylor. All the airtime. But can we play something else, Carl? Because we're going to run out of time. We got so many. Oh, there it goes. And that was the most tame. I mean, that was the most tame one of all of them. But it was just like, oh, look, there goes something just flying across the city. And I think that's what a lot of these are. I mean, there's several of that type of video in the files. And nice to be talking about this kind of files, right? But it really is so funny because these are silent clips for the most part. And it's just, they're just there. And they just, yeah. My favorite one is another one where one is they actually get it in their crosshairs. And it's kind of like, yeah, and then it's just like, oh yeah, it rides along with them for a minute, right? Yeah, I'll be in your crosshairs. And then it's just like, and gone. I love that. It's just, you know, messing with them. But how about some more? And it just goes back and it reversed and boom, it's gone. I mean, really, how cool is that? It's just, and they're just kind of like, well, where did it go? But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, they're there. They know that our guys are there. They are just sandbagging. A lot of this is all about consciousness. I don't think that these craft are about consciousness. I used to. I don't, because there's too much. There's too many. They get where the public can see them. They're trying to let us know that they're coming. Okay, these are real. These that we're seeing are real craft. These are a real thing. And I do know that a friend of mine that says that she is a pilot of one of them does fly it with consciousness. So there's that. But UAP is real. UAP is craft. It is somebody from somewhere who is coming here and has been coming here for eons, I think, really. Yeah, Ezekiel went away in his flaming chariot, right? But I do think that consciousness is a method of communication with the pilots. Like, consciousness is a universal thing. People that don't believe in it are welcome to their beliefs, but consciousness is a real and universal thing, in my opinion. And I do not see why that would not be in anything that is created, any being that is creative. My dogs have consciousness. You know, animals of all type. It's just crazy. And if you've interacted with enough species, I mean, I know dolphin and ape, obviously, but turtles develop caring for people. They develop relationships. I mean, anything does. And consciousness is universal. So, yes, plants, absolutely. And, you know, it's just one of those things that if we're going to communicate, then consciousness is, I've done that. It's so amazing that a Solar Pro has swam with dolphins, and I have too, and it just makes me wild. Rocks are awesome. I actually have a lot of rocks. And they're not just crystals. I like rocks. But a good rock is a good thing to find. And my grandma had worry stones when I was growing up, and they just make you happy. They are good for your soul. But yes. And, you know, I really think that if we are going to achieve communication, I think they're more advanced than we are, at least in their technology. I think that they may be more advanced than we are in their control of themselves, which is where the consciousness would come into play. I think that they are just going to be fascinating. And I hope that they don't like eating humans. I have a lot of humans I love. But, you know, I don't think that's even going to be the case. I mean, I say it as a joke, and a lot of people probably wouldn't take that as a joke. But I don't think that they're that kind of being. I think probably there are some, just like we have a bunch of jerks in our society. But, you know, we have people that get their rocks off, offing other people, causing harm to other people, damaging severely, emotionally and physically other people. They just get off on that. And I think that maybe every society has, bottom feeders, but maybe some societies that are in other ways more advanced than us are more advanced than us as far as being able to find ways to contain, control, and remove them. We coddle them as a rule. So, even if they're caught, they don't face ultimate consequences as a rule. And tit for tat would be good discipline, I think, or at least make them incapable of doing that again. And that sometimes would be removing parts or whatever. I don't have any empathy for, I don't have any sympathy for anyone that harms children or just takes lives for fun. And it's very alarming. I am very rigid on that. I really am. But, people that have been through abuse who are damaged beyond being able to get better and their abuser is still free and can still do that to them deserve freedom from that abuser. So how did I get the soapbox under my feet? But I think that other societies probably have found ways to contain that or eliminate it. And so hopefully the things that they have learned to do to make their society better, they would share. Maybe one of the reasons that they're not openly communicating with all of us is because we haven't evolved to that point. Maybe we're the zoo, or I don't know. But I know that there's some more files. Can we see some more, Carl? Now, I have seen something not dissimilar to that from an airplane. And I don't know what it was, but I don't have any video of it either. So, it's just, yeah, I saw that, which, that and $2 will get you a Starbucks, right? But it's just one of those things that I think that's pretty interesting. And you have to remember, these are military primarily files. So, do we have any more? Yeah. I did not have my glasses on. We see it again? That was where the little arrow was pointing. And I did not, when I was looking at this file, I was like, I don't really see anything that's knocking my socks off. But it's included in these files. They think that's a UAP. And, you can go and look online. This was in the first download. And it's just crazy. We've got 15 more minutes. Let's run through some more of these. And see, when I see that, I want to know why it's zigzagging. It just looks like it's meandering around, right? What is it looking for? I just find that odd Do I believe in fate? Yes, I do believe in fate. Both the magazine and in our lives. But I always have. I do believe you can control your own destiny, though, with your attitude. You know, that is over water. And I don't know why it's, this one actually puzzled me a lot. Because I think that looks like a portal. And they appeared to be fixated, right? I mean, don't you think that looks like a portal? I do. And I do believe in vortexes and portals. I mean, I felt the vortexes in Sedona, and I've been other places where they existed, and I do think that's where a lot of missing people go through. I actually heard something. Was it this week about a man who was it Yellowstone? Anyway, wherever he was, it was in a national park, and he was hiking. And as he was coming out, he saw a mist across the path, and he thought it looked odd. So he was just going, and he didn't know what to do. And he thought, well, I'll just try this. And he put his foot in it, and his leg disappeared. And he was like, nope, I'm going back to my car another way, and I just met someone who had a portal in their home. And I, as a paranormal investigator, I've been in homes that people felt had portals. And I don't discount that because I don't see, right? I feel I've got great intuition. I've got great skills, but I don't see. And mostly I choose not to. But I was at a house where my investigation partner that had gone with me said, well, there's a portal right there. They're getting these people from a graveyard. These people are using a portal to get into this home. And I thought, well, okay. And I just said, well, close it, because you could do that too. And she was like, well, okay. So it's, well, this house was too, on or near Native American land, but they don't have to be. It's just wild. But yeah, I do think that land that has spiritual history is more apt to have those. I don't really know why, but that's true. Do we have any more, Carl? Because we're running low here on time. See, I thought this looked like a hurricane, and yet they caught it. I think that's a hurricane hunter that saw this. I have no reason to believe that other than it looked like a hurricane to me. And with all that wind that's blowing, it's being stationary. And I can't think of any way something could do that. And bear in mind, I don't know that that's a hurricane, but it looked, as it came across, it looked like one forming. So there's that. More? I don't know why they move like that, though. Just fascinating. Oh, and we've got 2 teenagers went into a portal on the Blue Ridge Parkway and almost did not get out. What part of Blue Ridge Parkway were they in? Was that up towards Asheville or down toward Cherokee or more or farther, the farther north one? Oh, this is cool. Looks like a waterfall. And do I do consults? What kind of consults? But I mean, that's just so wicked cool. And I mean, it's just meandering around in there. And I don't understand. I mean, because I think that looks like such a storm right there. Is it just enjoying the energy? Is it just messing with the pilots? Is it just like na 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 na? I don't know. I would do that, not tonight because it's been a big day, but during regular days, I would do that. I tell you, if you're not really familiar with Fate Magazine, go to fatemag.com and you can like get some archives and stuff, and they're great. I love Fate Magazine because the very first edition of Fate was the Kenneth Arnold story. And that's what brought Fate into being. And it has been, ever since then, all about this. Oh, paranormal experienced gmail.com will get you to me. Paranormal Experience is the name of my other show, but Paranormal Experienced at Gmail. And the Fate Magazine just sold. We have a new owner. So I'm sure all of the emails will get straightened out soon too. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but just email me at paranormalexperienced at gmail.com. That'll get you there. And, you know, we've only got just a few more minutes. Carl, can we play one more? I just love this. This is my favorite out of all of the ones that I have seen. And I've been through both releases and I'm excited to go through the third too. And we will have a show on that. But look at this. It's so pretty. I don't know why it's leaving a trail though. And it's consistently leaving a tail. I don't get that. But it's so beautiful. Now, none of the ones that we've seen other than this have had tails. Trails, whatever you want to call them. This one does, and I don't, because it's so different, it makes me wonder about this one. But the aesthetics of this are so nice. You know, I mean, it looks like something from Star Trek that they would have made for Star Trek. The movement is unusual compared to what else we've seen. But the leaving is really good. The departure is just like the other ones. But anyway, I just thought that was so pretty. And that makes me think that if that was really a UFO, that maybe there's some poets in their midst too. So we'll find out pretty soon, I think. But that being said, it's been a great night. Thank you for being here. Get in touch with me and I will email you back and we'll talk. And, you know, for those of you that are not subscribing to Fate Magazine yet, check it out. I mean, there's books, there's magazines, there's so much stuff. You will love it. FateMag.com. Check it out. Get you some merch. The magazine, subscribe. It is so good. And, you know, like I said, we've got a new owner and I think that you're going to really enjoy joining that website, checking out that website. So we will be back next week. Now, Paranormal Experience, my daughter-in-law is having chemotherapy and it's always on Wednesdays. So I will not be doing Wednesdays. Brenda's filling in for me and she's great. Her name is Teal Gray. So come back, listen, and we will see you next time. Good night. Thanks for being here.